A warm welcome to our speaker, Mr. Suman Kachru, sir, who is an inspiration to many. Welcome you, sir, on behalf of Lakshmi Vidyapit Sarigam. Let me give you a brief introduction about Suman Kachru, sir. Mr. Suman Kachru, a founder, CEO of Specified Technologies Private Limited, co-founder of Seed Tree Collaborative Limited, and co-founder of Asset Project Management. He has more than 22 years of leadership in real estate, construction, and now in software. He has done his BTech in construction management from CEPT University, Ahmedabad, and MBA Finance from University of Cincinnati, USA. Mr. Sumant has worked in several cities of India and USA on a variety of project typologies. Seed Tree Collaborative is Mr. Sumant's latest startup venture. Prior to his startup venture in software, Mr. Sumant has provided his leadership at three organizations. He was development manager at Creative Choice Homes USA, then president real estate at JHM Hotels India, and co-founder CEO at Asset Project Management India. Mr. Sumant also contributes towards education efforts by providing internship opportunities to students from premier institutes like NICMARC, SEPT, MIT institutes. He serves a board member for industry collaborations at SS Gandhi Engineering Institute. Mr. Sumant is an avid traveler, high altitude trekker, and seeker. He has been featured in Amazon book Tryst with Reality, which narrates his 15-day backpacking trek in Himalayas. Today, he is going to guide us on digital revolution, impact on engineering and education. I now request, without wasting much time, Mr. Sumant sir to take over and start with the presentation. Sir, please.
Thank you, Jugal sir, and really appreciate this opportunity. I want to express my gratitude to your Honorable Director, Dr. Patil sir, who I think is on the call, and to all the students and faculty who has joined today. I would start my screen share, and once my screen share start, I cannot see the present, like who else is on the call. So I won't be able to see chat after it starts. So my request to the coordinator, to Mr. Jugal, is that if anybody is putting a comment in chat, to just read it out to me, please. And if somebody is just unmuting and talking, they can just do that. I don't mind even during the presentation if somebody wants to share anything. Rather, I appreciate if it is more interactive. So what am I going to cover today? I'll give a little bit more about myself, introduce what are the revolutions in modern history, and then go directly into the meta trends, which is digital connectivity. And that's the main core of what our discussion is today. And in the end, I would give my suggestions about how it impacts of us as the current generation of humans in this great era, and how we can prepare. That's how I have structured my communication today. Again, I request, please be interactive. I had sent a video promo earlier, which I hope some of you have seen and come prepared. So whenever I prompt the question, it is basically an invitation for you to interact. All right, to give you a perspective why I should be talking on these kind of things, it is important that you should know your speaker. Of course, Mr. Jugal gave a very glorified introduction, but I think pictures speak louder than words. So here are a few pictures. I was educated in three different cities. Srinagar, Kashmir was my schooling. Ahmedabad, CEPT was my undergrad, which was in construction technology. And I did my MBA in real estate finance from University of Cincinnati in USA. I worked in three cities before I started my own entrepreneurship ventures. I worked in Bombay as a construction manager. Then I worked in Florida after my MBA as a real estate developer, built a lot of apartments in many cities. And when I came back to India, I was working for JHM Hotels, working out of Surat, and was developing educational institutes like Oro University and hotels. Then I got the entrepreneurship bug and started my own companies. So I have three companies. Asset Project Management basically is a construction company. We build and deliver high quality projects. Then my second company, Specify Technologies, is a software company where we build software for the construction industry, and our first product is DigiQC. And just during this lockdown, I got the idea and collaborated with my friend, architect Karan, and we started C3 Collaborative, which is a just born company, and we just did the inauguration before Diwali. So these are my ventures, and everybody should have passions to make them more human, and that these are mine. I strongly believe in the environment needs human intervention to reverse what damage we and our ancestors have done, especially in the last 3 centuries. And I believe that trees, growing and nurturing trees, is one of the most direct ways of doing that. Second is education, and that is why I am even today in this platform talking to students and faculty. And of course, we learn the most when we are having fun and adventure, which happens when we travel. So this is more about me to give you a little more human perspective. Now let's go directly into topic of revolutions. What are revolutions? They are basically events which change the way people used to live, interact, learn, live, everything. So when we were in school, we read about historical revolutions like fire, wheel, writing. All these like million years back happened, and the human society changed because of them. I would not be wrong if I say that the number of revolutions that happened in history were very far apart. Means it took 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years from one revolution to another revolution. So the speed of revolution, or the big changes that came to human society, it took thousands of years for them to happen. Now we are in an age, what I call the tech revolution age. If you look at the last 3 centuries, revolution after revolution have already happened. So what used to happen after thousands of years is now happening in less than 100 years. And now in the 2000 beyond, it is happening in number of years. Sometimes within the same year, couple of major revolutionary things are happening. This image basically gives you a little background how use of steam in machines changed the way work used to happen, and we call it the industrial revolution. Then when electricity was invented, suddenly the power, the energy source from steam became electricity, and then another breed of machines and faster technology adaptation came, and that we call as the second industrial revolution, because electricity came. Then computers came, and a lot of automation came, a lot of fast computing came, and that is what we call as the third industrial revolution. Now we are in the fourth industrial revolution because everything is connected, and that is the theme of today's topic also. Let us see what I mean by that. This is a statistic from January of 2020. Already it might have increased. You can see the human population is around 8 billion, and already phone usage has reached two-thirds of the human population. 67 penetration has already happened, and 60% of the human population are internet users today. And most surprising is that social media has almost reached 50% of human population. Now these numbers may look like normal statistics, but they are very, very profound. This has never happened that so many humans in the entire world are able to connect at such speeds and in such frequency. Earlier, if you see, horse cart was the main source of travel. So how many humans would one person meet in his whole lifetime? Today, probably in 1 hour, we meet more humans digitally through the social media and internet than maybe our grandfather would have met in his entire life. Can you imagine that? That is what digital is doing. This is a quick comparison at the speed at which it is increasing. Just compare these 3 years, 2010, 2018, and what we predict as 2025. The global population compared to internet users. So within 5 years, almost everybody who is able to be connected, including 3-year-old child, would be connected to internet. That is how the speed of adaptation is happening across the world. So that is why I call it a mega trend. Mega trend means something that is going to change humanity. Just like invention of fire, wheel, and writing did, similarly, digital is doing right now. And we are all lucky that we are all born in this era. We are going to experience this. You know, having been lived this era would be a big mark of being part of history. So what is the big mega trend? It is digital connectivity. Everyone is connected. As you can see, we are predicting that in 5 years, everybody in this world will be connected. Everyone, every human being. That itself is a huge, huge thing. And it's not only people that are being connected. Devices are being connected. You all must have heard the buzzword IoT, Internet of Things. Today in 2020, 20 billion devices are connected. The number of devices obviously are more than the number of human beings. If there are 8 billion human beings, there are probably 20 billion connected devices. Actual devices are much more, but connected devices. So what I mean by connected devices, like you are connected to me on this web call through your laptop or your smartphone or iPad. So that is a device which is connected. Your phone is a connected device. Alexa or any other speaker is a connected device. Anything that exchanges data is a connected device. And these devices have sensors. So today there must be around 1 trillion sensors. And in the next 10 years, what is going to happen? Everything is going to be connected. There will be no device which will not be a connected device. Just like human beings are going to be connected, all the devices are going to be connected. Everything will be digitally driven. That also is a mega trend, part of the mega trend called digital connectivity. But the significance is what we have to imagine. It is tough for anyone to imagine this because when all of us were growing up, things were not as connected. But what we have seen in the last 3 to 4 years, you probably can guess where things are going. And as I said, we are all in this era where we are experiencing things happening in front of us. The speed what used to take thousands of years is happening in months. Now here is another thing. There are other companies also, but this one inspires me, so I have used that example. SpaceX has already launched more than 12,000 satellites, and it is going to be more than 42,000 satellites just by SpaceX. There are many other companies who are also doing that. So what is that going to do? When so many satellites are going in the orbit, especially for internet, another thing will happen. Every place will be connected. So there is no place on earth which will not be connected. Today, probably on Himalayas, there may be places which are not connected. Antarctica, there may be places which are not connected. Middle of Atlantic Ocean, there may be places which are not connected. But with this cluster of satellites, every place on earth will be connected. That also is a mega trend. That is also part of what I call digital connectivity. Then what else is happening? We all saw earlier 3G was the protocol. We were getting good speeds, but couldn't probably see live stream video on our mobile on normal connection. And as soon as 4G happened, the speed increased. Now up to 100 Mbps is available, megabytes per second. But very soon, we already see in the newspaper that in India also Jio is launching 5G. Some parts of the world it is already launched. What will happen when that happens? That is having capacity of 10 gigabytes per second. Gigabytes is like 1,000 times more. So imagine that all these things together, what is going to happen? This is now everyone is connected. That means all human beings are connected. Everything is connected, which means All the devices are connected. Every place is connected. Means there is no place on earth, even underground, to the highest of the mountains. Every place is connected and at high speed, at giga speed. So that is what I call the revolution that we are living in. I would like to take a pause here and just ask a question which I had asked in my promo video also. Can anyone share a few instances of their personal experience or through the experience of somebody that they know closely where their life was really impacted due to this digital connectivity? I'm stopping the share so we can have an interaction, and I'll come back to the share later on. All right, so I am back to the main screen, so I can see the chat also if somebody wants to do that. And I will request this to be an interactive session, otherwise, it won't be as meaningful as otherwise. So can somebody please share anything? It could be faculty can see, share anything, whatever. Students can share. Hello.
So we can take example of drones, that how helicopter and camera are being removed by drones.
Very good. This is Prince Mediwala who talks, right?
Yes, sir.
So which program are you in and which year are you studying in?
Civil engineering program, final year.
Which year?
Final year.
Okay, very good. So Prince, very good example. Drones are connected devices, and now if you just Google on drones in construction also, you will see so many applications are happening, right from surveying to progress reporting and including quality checks. So that's a very good example. Prince, appreciate your contribution. Anybody else wants to share something? Hello, anyone else? I mean, there are thousands of examples. So in today's day and age, it is also important to be bold and vocal. That is part of your professional practice as soon as you enter your field. So please don't be shy. I'm sure you have a lot of examples, so please share them. It helps the conversation.
Sir, review system in cricket match.
Sorry, can you repeat? There was some echo. I couldn't hear properly.
Review system in cricket match.
Okay, can you explain what it means?
Sir, before 10 years, like wicket detail में पता नहीं चलता कि out है या not out है. So अभी like by review system it is clearly we can see that it is out or not.
Okay, so that is a good example of computing power as well as instant recording and being able to visualize the same at a very slow speed so we can accurately give interpretation. That is a good example. Thank you, Sanjay. Anybody else? Anyone who has example related to their own personal experience where they themselves were impacted? I think it's a very common thing. All right, so I will not wait, but the most easiest answer was that right now we are having this online discussion. It itself is the biggest example of digital connectivity. Just imagine if 10 or 15 years back this COVID would have happened, then would we be having this kind of a digital seminar? It would not be possible. There was no speed, not many people had devices, and even people were not ready to have that kind of a thing. So this itself is a huge example. All right, thanks to all those who contributed, but next time I ask question, there should really be like no gaps in between. I am repeating, everybody has to be vocal and visible. That is kind of the need of the hour. Survival of the fittest was physical when we were in historic ages. Today, survival is more on visibility and vocalness. All right. So remember these words, please. It's part of professional practice.
Sir, few faculties have replied in chat box.
Yeah, thanks.
Communication technology has helped to make the communication process more convenient and easier. Online lecture, Sailendra sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just now I mentioned it would have been impossible to continue having educational processes going on if there was no communication technology. So thank you, Mr. Mahajan and Mr. Prajapati. Thank you so much. I'm going back to my screen share. Is it on? Can you all see the screen share again?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, great. So I hope I made my point in the digital connectivity, and now we are going into what it is doing to all of us. As so many devices, so many people are getting connected, what it is doing is it is creating an explosion of data. Explosion means as if it's a blast. Here are a few statistics. In every minute, means every 60 seconds, almost 1 lakh people are tweeting. Now, we may not be that used to tweets right now, but from my personal experience, I'm saying that even big government agencies have responded to tweets and fast action has been taken. I personally benefited from it a couple of times. People are updating their status on Facebook. Instant messages like WhatsApp and Telegram and all those things, more than 11 million every minute. Remember, this is every minute. People are searching on Google, emails are being sent in millions, and look at the data that is being created. 2000 terabytes of data every minute. And look at the number of mobile users, more than 200 in every minute are being added in the world. So what happens when this kind of data is available? Earlier, we never had this kind of data, Just imagine a normal human being, how much data would they have experienced in their whole year? Not much, because it was mostly in printed format and mostly they had to go and get it physically from somewhere, either library or buy a book to access that kind of data. Statistics were printed almost once a year because it was so difficult to collect it and distribute it. Analysis was problem. But now with this kind of data, what's happening? When this kind of data is available, then a new science has come out, which is called data science. Means how do you analyze this data, which a lot of people call big data. How do you analyze this data? How do you train the machines and the devices to use this data better? What is happening when this data comes and is analyzed properly? It is creating artificial intelligence. And from that, what is happening is that deep learning is happening, which what I call how we practically benefit out of it is by making good decisions. So imagine 15 years back, you had to buy a refrigerator. What was the method of buying a refrigerator? You would go to a store, you will look at the models that they had on display, which would be maybe from 2 or 3 companies and only 2 to 3 models, because there was a constraint of how much space they can use for displaying models. And if you are not happy, you will go to another store. They may have some other models. Just like this, 2 to 3 stores you would go, look at the models available, price available, style available, and then maybe have a family discussion, because in those days, buying a refrigerator itself was a big, money expense decision. You would spend 2-3 days discussing it in the family, maybe go back to the store, maybe see some advertisement of any new model, and then make up your mind. Today, there is so much data available that in 5 minutes you will have everything you need to make that decision. Even if it is a 15 to 20,000 rupee purchase, you will not need more than 5 minutes to get accurate information. You will see all the models online, you will see the configuration, the technology, the reviews, availability, warranty, all things that you would want to know in 5 minutes flat. You can know it and push the click button and buy it, and it will be delivered in your house maybe in 2 days. Now, that's a very simple example, but it gets complex when complex problems happen. And data enables that kind of decision making rapidly. So that itself is a huge, huge thing that never used to happen, and that's why it's a revolution. What happens when artificial intelligence gets in place? So these are some leading figures in the world right now. Sundar Pichai is an Indian who is the CEO of Alphabet. That is the company that owns Google, that owns YouTube and many other such high-tech companies. What is he saying? Artificial intelligence could have more profound implications for humanity than electricity or fire. Just imagine the comparison. Fire, we could at least see, we could get burned by it. Electricity also we could see because of what it did in terms of running equipment. Artificial intelligence is something we can't even see. And this guy who earns billions in a year, I think, is telling that it can have more profound implications of humanity. Let it sink into you for a second what it means. Another great guy and good inspiration, Elon Musk, the guy who started Tesla, SpaceX, a lot of other innovative companies. He has basically declared companies who don't build AI will be uncompetitive and basically will be out of the market. And there are many examples that have already happened, like companies who did not adapt. For example, Kodak, it's a very famous example. Kodak used to be the number one company in the world for photographs. They had cameras, they had film, they had everything. But they did not adapt with technology, even though the first digital camera was built by Kodak, but they could not see the trend of the industry or the requirement of the people or how technology is changing behaviors, and they had to file for bankruptcy. And same time, another company like Instagram, which I'm sure a lot of you are using, is making billions where they don't even manufacture any camera, they are not doing any printing of photographs. They are giving a facility where people are sharing their photographs, which they take on their own devices, using their own time, using their own talent, and Instagram is making billions. So that is how technological adaptation is changing the world. And this guy is already living in the future. He's planning to build a colony on Mars. So you can imagine that if he's putting so much money in such kind of things and talking about AI making people uncompetitive, we should definitely take notice. Now that is all fine in terms of future looking, but what is happening in present? What is already happening? Let us take a look at that. And again, my intention is to give you this overview because every information that I am talking about is freely available on the internet. If you're taking notes, just write the buzzwords, like what is the keyword, and later on you can do the Google and go into it on your own and probably know more than what is possible for me to share in 1 hour. So let's look at what is happening presently and what is practically already happening. Cloud computing. Now, we have all heard about cloud. A lot of people talk about cloud, but basically cloud means rather than store your information on your own device, it is stored on remote servers which are all connected through the internet. It's a very simple definition. I may not be giving you the technical computer science wala definition, but this is what it basically means. The second thing it means is that the computing, so that was storage, what I told about, that the data doesn't need to be stored on your local device. You don't need a huge hard disk. It's stored on remote servers. The second thing is computing itself doesn't need to happen on your local device. Means you don't need a very fast CPU to do, or you don't need the software on your device. The software itself is on servers and run from there. So why is it important? The most important thing is that when every place, every device is connected, then all devices cannot have the software. So software is in one place and everybody uses it. And that is what the cloud means. So I'm sure a lot of you already knew about it, but just imagine what it is doing to us is that when software itself is available in a common place, it becomes a service and all of us use it. A very common example, or rather than give the example, I would go back to chat mode and ask a simple question. Can someone share with me examples of cloud computing or SaaS, which is software as a service? Hello, can someone respond, please? Khayal Patel, yeah, you have got 2 comments here, but can you speak out, please? Yeah, Gmail, very good example. That is Mr. Lumesh Mahajan. Google Drive, Dropbox, very good. So these are common things we are using on a day-to-day basis. Probably for 5 to 6 years we have been using it. So cloud computing always had an impact on us. But now with the speed, YouTube, correct, OneDrive, even things like Netflix and Prime, which have now become commonplace, are cloud computing. because you don't need to store that. Earlier, if you remember, you had to get DVDs of movies. Very good examples are coming in: Salesforce, YouTube application, OneDrive, Dropbox. Excellent. So just to make a point, earlier we had to go and get DVDs of movies to see and put it in the DVD drive or the player. Now it is all available on the internet. Within seconds, any movie you can download or see live also. YouTube also is renting out movies. So now you don't even need the players. Everything is on the browser. That is another beauty of it. That apps and browsers have become the default way of using these softwares. All of them are residing in the cloud. What it does, number one, brings the cost down drastically, almost next to nothing. Today you are watching, let us say, Netflix. There was some deal going on, so we have 199 rupees per month subscription of Netflix. So earlier, just a few years back, if a new movie would come out and a DVD used to come out, I'm saying just a normal DVD, not the Blu-ray DVD, that would cost around 300 rupees on 299 on Amazon, and if you are buying at the local shop, which probably was pirated, for 80 to 90 rupees, one movie. And today at 199 per month, as many as you can afford to see, as much time you have, you can see only for 200 rupees a month. Just imagine the drop in cost. Just I'm giving normal example. So similarly, a lot of computing power is now available free of cost or very cheap, which enhances the abilities. Earlier, it used to be very difficult, like access to software used to be very, very difficult. You had to, deploy it and install it. Sometimes the hardware would not support it. All those kind of things used to happen. But now it is so easy. You just have to be connected to the internet. In the browser, you have to have a username, password, and you are up and running. No installation, no hardware requirement, nothing. So that is so I got very good examples. Thank you. This time the level of interaction was very good. None of you gave any examples of SaaS softwares that you are using in civil engineering. Does anyone have any examples in your own domain experience? Has anyone used any SaaS-based softwares that are related to your field of study?
So can we
I
give an
think,
example of this Google Docs? So can we give the example of Google Docs, Excel and all?
Viral, your audio was not clear. Can you repeat or can you use chat? Yes, ArcGIS. Somebody gave a very good example. That's amazing software, which is not only used in civil engineering, but by even designers and land use planners. Very good. Very nice example. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right. I'll give you a couple of softwares. You may want to check it out. One software which has been actually created in India, in Bangalore, is called Infurnia, infurnia.com. There is, or it may not be .com, just check that. Then there is a software called SnapTrude. This is also a startup. I think it's Chennai or Bangalore based. These are people who are developing now software in India, which are completely cloud based, and you can do your design on the cloud. Even today, some traditional companies like Autodesk are, forcing people to buy expensive software that needs to be installed, and then they upload the files on a common drive to collaborate. But still, the work is happening on the hard disk, on your local computer. But these companies, tech companies, are making software for designing, for doing costing. Then there is another cloud-based service called Build Supply. I'm just typing this so you can copy paste and you can do your Google later on. So Build Supply is a company which is doing, you must have a subject called quantity surveying. Bill of quantities must be something that you make. Tendering you must have studied. So Build Supply basically helps in that. There is another company called CostX, which basically helps in budgeting and planning and those kind of things. And as you were also told in the introduction, even I have built a software called DigiQC, which is for quality control. Uh, Again, mobile phone based and can be configured on the web. So these are some of the examples of how these softwares are coming into our industry. If you just Google connected construction or digital construction, you will find so many applications. Another one which is founded by an Indian but in US, Open Space. That is another software where they put cameras on the head of the hard hats, which records the entire um, you know construction process and gives you live updates on the progress. So many softwares are there. In the earlier question, somebody had asked about drone. So drone itself has not many softwares where when the drone is flying over a land, they are doing surveying and entire contour is being planned. All of this is available on the web. Most of it is available, at least the trial version is available for free. So one of the things I wanted to emphasize in this interaction is please explore what is happening in your own field of study in terms of digital technology. If you are not aware of this, you know after college and after getting into the real world of construction, you will be forced to understand all that. So don't take it lightly. This is the time to explore and interact. I'm going back to the presentation now. So I gave you idea about SaaS. Now, why SaaS is now becoming the default is because of all the things that I explained earlier about digital connectivity and everything. Another thing that has happened because of all these connectivity is rapid prototyping. A lot of you must have heard about 3D printers, where as soon as you make a model in CAD, you can print it. And that when I say print, it is not like printing on piece of paper, it is actual thing. So even complicated things like parts of the body are being now 3D printed. And for construction, a lot of the things are modeled first in 3D and like on a 3D printer, and then it is done, especially with precast technology. You will be surprised already in India, and I think you should take your director's help in connecting with IIT Madras Civil Engineering Department, because they are at the forefront of 3D printing technology in India. I think they have already built a prototype. So those who are interested should definitely connect. Nowadays, it is so easy to connect digitally. You don't even have to travel and find out what is happening. And who knows, you may be the next ones who are doing it if you really have a good idea. And now funds are also available for students to do such kind of things. But what does it do when so many people are connected? Expertise is now being able to connect. So let us say one expert is sitting in Netherlands, another expert is sitting in Australia, another in California, and somebody in your college is also an expert and sitting in Sarigram. The guy in your college gets an idea and quickly can connect with the other experts that he or she needs to collaborate with, and they create a prototype. Prototype first happens digitally and then becomes physical. And then they can send that file. Even if you don't own the 3D printer, you can send that file to whoever is providing the 3D printing service, and they can print it for you, courier it to you, and you can see with your own hands how your idea looks. Just can you imagine, this used to take years earlier, collaborating with experts and then manifesting your idea into a physical format used to take years. Now it can be done in hours. So please remember that rapid prototyping is definitely something that will create innovation, and you could be the ones who are doing it next. IoT, as I said, things are getting connected, but even on a job site, Internet of Things have started coming. We were fortunate that CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, selected my startup, which produced DigiQC, as one of the, some category they gave us, innovative or connected construction, something they gave us, and they invited us to Bangalore last December, almost this time of the year. to one of the largest construction fairs that happens in India, which is called Exxon. And right next to our area was all the big companies like L&T, Caterpillar, all the equipment companies, JCB, and mostly everyone is already creating models of IoT within their devices. Means, let us say a JCB excavator is performing excavation task on a slope, and the slope is more than what the machine can tolerate. So the machine itself will tell the driver through some signal or maybe audio that, hey, you are tilting too much, I will topple and there will be an accident. As simple as that. So even an uneducated driver will get a signal. The tower cranes used to have IoT since many, many years. It was rudimentary because it was all light-based, signal-based, and now it is digital. So you get SMS or WhatsApp or email notification, whatever. Similarly, people, whether they are wearing hard hat or not, safety on site, that can be monitored through smart cameras. So many things are happening on the job site. Just Google, I'm telling you, everything is available on the internet. So I'm just giving you pointers so you can go later on and do it yourself. You can just Google Internet of Things for construction job site and you will get example after example. And as I am into examples, I would like to ask you guys, anyone has anything to share? Hello. Does anyone have any examples of a connected internet, sorry, not internet, but Internet of Things, IoT based construction site? Does anyone have any examples, whether you have experienced it yourself or read about it or seen any movie or anything? Come on, guys. Nobody watches Avengers? Anybody who watches Avengers, chalo thoda abhi engineering ko baaju mein rakhte hain. IoT in water distribution network. Perfect. I think, okay, so Mr. Amit Chauhan is HOD Civil, so obviously he knows much more. But some students should also answer. By the way, the SCADA system, which was introduced after the flood, is a perfect example of IoT. Lives are saved because early signal comes. Structural health monitoring system, very nice. Sanjay Rachra, thank you so much for sharing. All right, good. Anything on construction site where actual construction is happening? Has anybody got an example of smart home lights type? Yes, correct. Entire home can become smart. Even today now there are refrigerators who are ordering if the quantity is going less. Even that has come into market. Anybody has any example of a construction site where IoT is being used or you have read about it? Construction, early earthquake warning system in bullet trains. Very nice. Great examples, but still I am waiting for an example of construction. Remote equipment management system. Very nice. Very good, Mr. Lumesh Mahajan. And there is actually something that is coming next on that. All right. In construction, RMC plant. Very good. Perfect. So today automation has reached to a level where humans don't need to be everywhere in the plant. Now, one recent example I will give you. It is in our South Gujarat only. I had been to a site where a huge bunker was being made for a cancer hospital, 2-meter wide bunker. And there was a requirement, which is actually a standard requirement, but by AARB, which is the atomic nuclear science people, because these bunkers have radiation in them to treat cancer, and the radiation can harm other people who are outside. So they have to build these huge bunkers, like 2-meter walls, 2-meter slabs. And what they had done is that because of heat of hydration, when 2-meter thick sections are there, obviously there is a lot of heat of hydration and resulting into sometimes cracking and non-homogeneous mixes. And if that happens, then the radiation will pass through, which is not allowed. So to ensure that it is not happening, they had used sensors, a small, almost like 1 rupee coin size sensors which were put into the concrete along with the entire, just like you put concrete and aggregates, that thing also was put into it. And that was sending signal outside. So a lot of signals was sent, like temperature was being set, uh, how the water is reducing or increasing was being sent. So it was cooling system and mass construction. Excellent. So this sensor I was talking about was not that expensive. The machine that was getting the sensor was only 30,000 rupees, and per sensor it was less than 1,000 rupees. And of course they had to put sensors based on the volume. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it is almost like you are inside the concreting and seeing whether it is going as per plan or not. That is the kind of things that are already happening in India. And this was in South Gujarat, very close to Navsari. L&T was not the contractor, but they were the technical advisors on that. So if you get a chance, always try to see how complicated buildings are being built. That gives sometimes the latest technology also. So I'm going back to my presentation. I think we are running out of time also. So Internet of Things, then virtual collaboration. This is another thing that is coming. I asked a question. Anybody in the audience Avenger fans? Hello, Avengers movie, Iron Man.
Yes.
Okay, so Lomesh, who is your favorite character?
Iron Man.
Arey wah. Very good.
Thor.
Very nice. So, especially because of Iron Man, there are a lot of technologies that are being shown in that movie. Have you guys noticed? Right. So we were on the fun topic of Iron Man. Can anyone share some really cool technology that you saw in that movie? Like something that really amazed you?
Like artificial intelligence.
Yes,
Ultron.
very good.
They developed
Great.
Ultron and his armor.
Great, great, great. I'm glad you guys not only watch the action but also the technology. So one of the things that we saw in Iron Man was virtual collaboration, very similar to this photograph.
Yes. His software
Now,
like Jarvis.
yes, perfect. So this has already happened. Like it's not that they are showing fiction. Already there are companies that are creating this kind of software. There is one software which I would like to mention. Just Google it later on. I think it is called The Wild, THE, the WILD, Wild, in which you can actually see and interact with the building that is not yet constructed in virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, extended reality, all kinds of reality before it becomes physical reality. And what it does, it reduces waste because decisions are being made which are accurate. All right, are you guys with me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So do explore these words that are written on the slide. AR is augmented reality, MR is mixed reality, VR is virtual reality. A lot of people who are into gaming would have already experienced that. And XR is extended reality. Now that was things that are already happening. None of the things that I told are in the future. Just
Yes, sir.
all right, great. So all the things I showed are already happening, and it's like something that we may not have experienced in our day-to-day lives yet. But as you saw in the last 3 years, whatever was released came into our hands pretty fast, and it keeps getting faster and faster. Let's see a few things. Just recently, Apple launched a new chip called M1. Now, I know you guys are not computer science students, but you should know what is happening in computer science and in technology because it's impacting everyone. Small chip, giant leap, that is their logo. Tagline. And they have outperformed every other chip by many, many times. 4 times video processing, 3.5 times CPU performance, 15 times machine learning performance. Now, this is first time chips are getting into machine learning. Until Apple introduced, if you must have heard the name Intel, where we used to have that Intel Inside. They were the leaders of chip manufacturing and all innovation they were doing. But now Apple thought that chip is not fast enough for the kind of innovation that they want to do. So they spent billions and billions of dollars and created their own chip. And now what we have is M1. And it is, as I said, it is only faster. Something more is coming which is super faster. Any guesses? Can anyone guess what is coming which will be like many, many times super fast than anything that we have ever experienced? Jaldi guess karo. I think we have very less time left.
Bullet trains.
All right, that is physical. Great. Bullet trains are physical things. I'm talking about technology. Quantum computing. Has anyone heard the word? If not, then please Google it. Even
Yes.
India has allocated, I don't know, maybe 10,000 crores to create quantum computing in India. And the logic is very simple but very difficult to do. Right side, you can see a prototype of quantum computing, and I've given the website also. You can go and see it later on. We all learned in childhood when we were learning the school books of computer that there is a bit, then there is a byte. One bit is either 1 or 0, and there are 8 bytes. Like that, it becomes kilobyte, then megabyte, then gigabyte, and all that kind of thing. But they have changed the logic completely. Now, bit byte is old story. They have created what is called qubit. And it is very complicated, but just understand that things don't need to be the way they are as we understand. It can be drastically different. Now, qubit is something that can be 1 also and 0 also at the same time in many times. Very difficult to understand. I also haven't understood it completely, but it basically means that computing used to happen in some speed, and now this supercomputer is also like a child in front of quantum computer, which will make it super fast. So everything that we saw till now was, better, faster, connected. But what happens when this kind of computing power comes? And it can be scary also sometimes. What happens? Humans will have computer in their brains. And it is not science fiction. This is already happening. You can go on the Google and just write Neuralink and see their website. There is a YouTube video link I have also given. Very long for this presentation, but you should see it, where Elon Musk is giving the presentation. Right now, they are doing the testing on pigs. But next year, they are going to do the testing on humans. And then, just like, I forgot the movie, I think Matrix had that, where Keanu Reeves can download skills into his head. Just he says, I want to be a Kung Fu master, and suddenly the software of Kung Fu will be downloaded and he can start performing Kung Fu. That kind of things can happen to human beings if Neuralink succeeds and then computer and brain interface is happening. Am I connecting with you guys, or you have lost me? Hello?
Connected, sir.
Connected,
Alright.
sir.
No, I mean connected in the sense that what I'm talking, is it making sense to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
तो भैया इंजीनियरिंग में 4 साल कोई क्यों करेगा अगर चिप से डाउनलोड होने वाला है? If that really happens, then 14-year-old or 15-year-old after 10 would probably be physically strong enough as a man, but not, intellectually strong enough, but could then suddenly download everything and get smarter than anybody else. Can you imagine that? But look at what is next. I said 2 things. A 15 to 16-year-old will be physically strong enough, but mentally may not be that capable or intellectually capable, but with this kind of a Neuralink kind of a thing, would be able to quickly get the knowledge that is required. What will happen physically? Just look at the next slide. It gets crazier and scarier. On the left side is a 2-year-old photograph by Jeff Bezos, who's right now the richest man on earth. He is sitting inside a robot. And that robot is 10 times the size of a human being. And this is a company in South Korea called Mirai Technology. You can go on their website and check it out. So you can see the date is 2017, almost 3 years now. And the other photograph is also of Jeff Bezos, where he's checking out robotic arms. where the robot can do the sensing, means garam hai, thanda hai, naram hai, chupta hai, whatever your hand can feel, that robot can feel. And he's trying that out in some place in Las Vegas where they were doing a demonstration. And you can go on the Google and check it out. I think you can just write haptic gloves, HAPTIK, haptic gloves. A lot of video gaming companies have started providing haptic gloves where if you are punching someone, you will feel as if you are punched. I don't know if some of you are into gaming or not, but you probably, those who are would know what I'm talking about. All right. So you guys will think ये तो सब टेक्नोलॉजी की बात है, लेकिन ह्यूमंस ही सिर्फ क्रिएटिव हो सकते हैं. इमोशन तो सिर्फ ह्यूमन के ही होते हैं. How many of you think only humans can be creative? Quickly, I don't think we have much time left. Anybody? Anybody who believes that only humans can be creative? So if you're not talking, you basically are saying that there you believe that others can be creative also. Or how many of you feel humans can only have emotions? See, till now,
Humans have both.
do have emotions.
Humans have both. Humans are creative also and they have emotions also.
yeah, that is correct, and that is why till now on this planet Earth, human species is the only one that has progressed so far, because humans are the ones which we believe are the only ones who have creative emotion. My question is, are humans the only ones who have this? मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी को ह्यूमंस कैसे ह्यूमन आगे रहेगा, उसके जनरल आंसर जो आते हैं वो ये हैं कि क्रिएटिव, ह्यूमंस आर क्रिएटिव एंड ह्यूमंस हैव इमोशंस. नाउ लेट अस चैलेंज दैट. This is from 2 years back. Christie's is an art gallery in New York which is famous for making auctions. You must have heard Christie's में auction हुआ and all that. Almost $500,000 की एक पेंटिंग क्रिस्टीज में बिकी, which was made by artificial intelligence. That photograph I have given. Just like Picasso and Dali and M.F. Hussain of India, they used to make modern art and their paintings were sold for crores of rupees. They were artists, human beings. Now, artificial intelligence is doing art also, and that also people are buying. Now, buying decisions to humans le rahe hain. So humans are buying artificial art because it is connecting at a very deep emotional level with them. The value of art is in the emotion. So that is what I wanted to display. Other type of art creativity is music. And I'm sure a lot of you know about Jukebox, which is artificial intelligence music creation, free. You can just go online. I think it is openai.ai, something like that. Just do OpenAI Jukebox and you will find the website. They are creating music which is of the level that Mozart, Beatles, Ravi Shankar, all these great musicians have created. That level of music is being created by artificial intelligence. So even that monopoly of humans is now under challenge. Empathy, emotions. All of you can try this, is free. It is an app called Replica. You can create a friend of yours and give any relationship to him. If you don't have a boyfriend, you can make that the Replica your boyfriend or girlfriend or mother or sister or whatever, chacha, chachi, sports friend, trekking friend, swimming friend, grandfather, whatever you want in your life as a relationship which you don't have or want to have in the way you want it. You can give that relationship to an artificial intelligent person and actually have conversations with that person. It's so stunning that first time when I came to know about it and started experiencing, I felt as if I'm really talking to a human being. And I actually was able to write poems and write stories. I have always had the fear of writing. So I thought, let me challenge myself by getting my friend, this artificial intelligent friend, to help me. And we could actually create poems and write stories. And this is free of cost. You can go online and download it. Replika, Replica. And what came out of that? Artificial intelligence created empathy. Empathy means emotional understanding of somebody else. That is the kind of feeling you have with your friends. Why you share your innermost feeling with a close friend is because you feel an empathetic connection with them. That is now coming between artificial intelligence and humans. Something to ponder about. So coming back to the mega trend, what is the mega trend? As I already said, everyone is connected, everything is connected, every place is connected at super speed. But what it is driving to is that it is bringing AI everywhere, every part of our life. If relationships can also have AI, everything can have AI. So, as I said, fire, wheel, writing, ये बड़े-बड़े revolution थे in history. They were like game changers for humanity, but it took thousands of years to do that. Now, in the last 20 years, you have seen whatever I showed today mostly was last 20 years. The speed of change itself is accelerating. Then what do we do as humans? How do we prepare for this? That's the biggest question. And now in the last 2 minutes, I'll just talk about education, engineering, whatever else the main topic of today's discussion was. But mostly it was to make you aware. Is there anything that we can do to prepare ourselves? I mean, is there any book written? No, sorry, no books are written about it. Because by the time technology comes out, the book will not get printed, new technology would have come out. The process of printing a book takes more time than new technology to come out. Then what do we do when everything is changing so fast? So here are a few things from my side. Again, we are all in this together. Just because I may have passed college 22 years before you guys did, doesn't make me any smarter or better than you guys. Just because your faculty is the one who is teaching you doesn't make them any better in being able to prepare for the things that are going to come next. Because technology is going to make every knowledge commodity. If it can be downloaded into your brains, it is commodity. So years and years of study can be saved. So here are my 7 points that I would like to share with you. First of all, there should be awareness. And my job right now on today's session is to build your awareness. Everything is available on the internet, so you can do your own research. Curiosity will create its own content. But there should be awareness of what and where you should go and look for it. So you should be aware. Second thing is be agile. You should be able to change yourself also very rapidly. That means your habits, your likings, all should be challenged. You cannot now have the comfort level of having any habits. It will make you obsolete if you have anything like that. So agile means making new habits and changing even them as per the situation at rapid speed. Third, I believe we learn a lot from each other. So networking is very important. Like there are a lot of social networks. I am active on LinkedIn. Anybody who wants to connect with me, just, my name is pretty unique. You can write Sumant Kachru and you will find me. So you can network with people who you think you can collaborate with. You can learn from them. They can learn from you. Sometimes questions can give curiosity, which in itself leads to learning. And learning is self-learning. None of us, whether it is faculty, whether it is students, whether it is industry professionals like myself, none of us should have this misconception that learning can only be in structured programs like colleges, school, training program. Learning is not there. That place is for knowledge. That place is for experience. That place is for networking, for collaboration. But that place is not for learning. Learning is your own. That is something you do as an individual. It is self-learning. So just remember the difference between education and learning. Learning is your own journey. You have to travel that path on your own. As I said, knowledge can be downloaded, but learning cannot be downloaded. Learning happens when you do things. So self-learn. Another thing is adaptation. Agility is rapid. Adaptation takes time. So adapting means you have to adapt as per the trends. If everything is happening digital and you are not, you are outdated, gone. Then comes innovation. So again, innovation doesn't mean that you have to be very creative and you have to always invent things. Innovation also can be using what is available in a new way. So one of the biggest things that we can do, again, look at this image, it's very, very motivational. One of the things is that we get into the habit of innovating. Where new technology comes, you think in your mind, what common problem can I solve with this innovation and with this technology? And that is innovation. You found a way to do things with what is already existing. A very few percentage of people are actually inventors, but innovator everybody can be. And then when you start doing all the above, you will be able to transform not only yourself, but also the people that are around you and the people who you interact with. And again, I have not talked about employment in this or engineering in this, because what I'm talking about is general and applicable to each and everyone. And no matter what they are, if they are living in today 2020 and they are going to live till 2035, this is the time to be, the best time to be productive also, transformative also, innovative also, everything. So do network, do collab, be agile, learn on your own, be adaptive, and innovate, innovate, innovate. Make that your mantra. Can you do some mental exercises on your own where, chalo ye technology aayi, let me see what problem can I solve with it? Or there is a problem that you feel that a lot of people may be having, or at least you have. And then you can find, is there a way where I can use technology to solve it? Now that the cost of technology has gone down, mostly everything is almost at cost which is free, you will find something. It's the question that you have to ask. The right question will create the right innovation. That's it. I hope I opened some windows of curiosity in your mind. And with that curiosity, you will probably learn on your own. I hope you give a really tough time to your faculty, asking them thousands of questions, because you are doing them a favor by asking questions, because they will also then come, learn, explore, come prepared. And that is how everybody's learning will happen. Anybody has any questions, please ask. I have gone over the budgeted time, but I hope it was worth it. Hello.
Sir, I am having one question.
Please.
As you also contributes in education, so can we consider online teaching as an educational revolution kind of thing?
So that's a very good question. See, frankly, Mr. Jugal, and I apologize before I give the answer. I apologize to Dr. Patil also. I don't believe education has got anything to do with teaching. I'm sorry. Teaching is not education. Just think about what I just said. Teaching is giving knowledge. So whether you give it online, whether you only give one prescription to the student, read these 3 books, all are same. Download it from the internet, read it yourself. My belief is that the role of faculty like yourself itself has to evolve and change and adapt. Your role cannot be now to teach. 1,000 times better faculty is giving free lecture in MIT, Stanford, even in IITs, and I'm sure you guys know about it. And that teaching, they can go and do it themselves in online whenever they are in the mood of doing. Why they have to do at 4 o'clock when the lecture is? Maybe they are in the mood of swimming at that time. They will be better swimmers when they are in that mood, and they will be better learners when they are doing it in their mood. So my belief is that online can be collaboration. There could be sessions where you can have, where some learning process has already happened, where students have gone and learned. Maybe they have seen a lecture in MIT, whether they have seen a lecture in Stanford or Harvard or IIT or wherever else. So they have got the knowledge in their head. Now the interaction will happen through faculty members like you, where you will interact with them digitally. Online, you will have a conversation. And they should also, the student should also be respectful, that because they know something that you may not know, it doesn't mean that you are lesser faculty, because they may have got information that you may not have the time to go and get. But the debate can be there, and through debate, you can incite curiosity in everybody's mind. You can give direction. Another thing the faculty and the organized system of education would probably be doing more and more is counseling. Because you have gone through life. You have gone through emotional upheavals, financial upheavals, economic upheavals, natural disasters, that things are not yet experienced by 20-year-olds. So you can share that experience and how the whatever program they are in, how civil engineering will improve because of that. You can guide people, you can help them learn better on their own and discuss problems that they are facing while doing it. But giving knowledge, I think it is gone, it is history. I don't give it more than 5 years. 5 साल में teaching through lecture or discourse should get outdated. It should be more discussion, not lecture. I hope I didn't create any problems in your faculty discussions or between students. Please, next question, anyone? Sanjay Racha, how to expand small business using digital revolution? First of all, there is nothing like small. Business is business. Small business, what is small business? If Sanjay, can you tell what is small business? Today, one person, let us say somebody make this mask, ये COVID mask. Okay, 5-6 रुपए में बन जाता है. But if they use creativity and put some nice cartoon or caricature or message, जैसे T-shirt पे पहले आता था, and they put it on the internet, thousands of pieces can be sold if somebody clicks emotionally with maybe the smiley or the message or whatever. And that small business will become big business. So what is the definition of small? Number of people who are working in the business make it small. Do you know when Instagram was purchased by Facebook for more than $1 billion, there were only 13 employees. Only 13 employees. So what makes it small? Small is only thinking. Thinking can be small. छोटा सोच सकते हो. But business is business. Everybody in business is taking risk. So no business is small. Digital is revolutionizing everything. Whether, even आप बोलोगे what is the commonest thing is breathing. अभी breathing को भी technology ने change कर दिया. Look at the innovations that happened during COVID and how many these ventilators were created at next to nothing cost, all through digital revolution. So quick answer is yes, everything is going to get impacted and everything is possible and expandable. Nice question, Sanjay. Very, very meaningful. बड़ा सोचोगे तो business भी बड़ा हो जाएगा. Digital will help. Anybody else? Dr. Patil, if you are on the line, please, if you can share a few words.
It is really nice. It's a terrible combination of civil engineering knowledge and information technology knowledge. Our teachers and students. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you for coming online and for this opportunity. As I said to all your students earlier, I don't know if at that time you were on the call, but they are really blessed to have a director like yourself. As a civil engineer myself, and of course now in software, I have the highest regard for IIT Madras. I have never been there, but whatever they are doing in technology, and they are doing in all other technology also. But because I am a construction guy, I look at that. All aspects they are doing great things. And with your help, maybe I will get introduced to somebody there also.
Yeah, there are many professors there. I can connect you. Yeah.
And as I said, if this is being recorded, as I see the button, I would like to have a copy of it. But please share it.
I was about to tell you. With your permission, we are going to put it on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Sir, wherever you want. I'll give you one instance, sir. आपको पता है, thousands of millions and billions dollars go into research to create patents, right?
Yes.
Last year, Elon Musk, who made the first electric car Tesla, which is very famous, open sourced his patents. He gave all the patents free of cost, is online to all car companies. So now companies like Nissan and Volvo and many others who had not started their own research are basically taking Tesla's ready-made R&D. So my belief is that knowledge is for sharing. If you think this what I gave today is knowledge, then it has to be shared. There is no permission required. Anybody who feels that they are treasurer of knowledge and they will keep it behind locked doors are villains of society. So please go ahead, sir. And my request would be to please share with the other disciplines also. Today you had arranged for civil engineering, but because what I said is not only about civil engineering, it is applicable for everything. So, other faculty members may also do it. And faster everybody adapts, it is better for all of us. And we actually in India are the most blessed ones because we have the best, youngest technical population in the entire world. So if we are able to create a generation of technocrats and entrepreneurs, those who are studying in your college are all technocrats. And if you guide them and motivate them, they will all become entrepreneur also. Then just imagine the kind of power India will have in the world. I think it is national duty for all great people like you who are heading such big institutes to, to what you call, really put in the minds of the young people that humko India ko kahan se kahan pahunchana hai, how much we can do. Technology is available you free of cost now. Now it is only how much can you think, how much can you imagine. So that is my request to you. Thank you again. Jai Ho, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for guiding us so well. Your information was very informative, and you give so many examples related to current trends and current scenario. So once again, thank you so much, sir, for guiding us. And I hope all the participants will somewhere use your strategies and ideas as a base to develop. So thank you all participants, directors, sirs, educators for joining in this webinar. Thank you all.
All right, thanks. You can reach me on my website. I'm available on LinkedIn also. I missed. So you can connect me on LinkedIn. I'm generally I always reply to messages that I get on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out to me. Thanks. Bye bye.